Hey community of awesome, I'm Gabe and this is Bookish Pixie. So looking at my Ask Me Anything from not too long ago, I noticed I got a couple questions on showing versus telling. Namely, people seem confused about when to show versus when to tell, and whether you should tell at all, and why it seems that there are a lot of best-selling authors who use telling when everyone says show, don't tell. So let's clear that up. Most people know that the common advice is that yes, you should show in your writing more than you should tell. In this case, the generalized way to think about it is to show is to describe things, whereas to tell is to explain things. So let's talk about good and bad times to tell. Some good times to tell instead of show include when showing a passage of time. So many books often take place over the course of days or weeks or months or years, and you need to be able to get the information across to the reader that time has passed without making a huge production out of it. Basically, you need to be able to say to the reader 3 hours later, or the next day, or 2 weeks later, or a whole year later. And you need to be able to get that across quickly, so you tell. You need to be able to tell because otherwise you would have to describe all that time in between, but the whole reason you were skipping ahead is because nothing significant happens in that time in between. Thus, you don't want to show it. Relatedly, you'll also want to tell when skipping over unimportant or uneventful moments of your characters' lives. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, we don't need to see your character getting out of bed, taking a shower, brushing their teeth, blow-drying their hair, etc. Those mundane moments where nothing eventful happens, you'll want to skip over in order to get to the meat of your story. And in order to skip over those moments, you need to be able to tell and say after they got ready, or when they left the house, or after school was over, etc. Another time where it's often helpful to tell, though not always, is when conveying backstory or history. While there are certainly times when it'd be more effective to show some backstory or history through a flashback in which you are describing what happened, sometimes it's just better to summarize. How do you know the difference? Well, honestly, a lot of times it's going to be up to you and your manuscript and how important that particular event is. Now let's talk about some times when you definitely shouldn't tell. When writing emotions or sensory descriptions, you're almost always going to want to describe or show those things. I think this is especially important with emotions. It's always more effective to reflect how an emotion is affecting a character in their thoughts, actions, and reactions, rather than just saying he was sad. Similar rule applies to sensory descriptions. It's almost always more effective to describe what a character is smelling or seeing or feeling, rather than just saying it smelled sweet. Another place where it's usually better to avoid telling as much as possible is in your opening. Your opening is where you want to suck readers in and really make them feel like they're a part of the story, but when you begin your story with a lot of explaining, it's much harder to do that. Explaining creates some distance, and it's a lot more dangerous to do that at the beginning of the story because your reader hasn't gotten hooked yet, so you really want to avoid that as much as possible. So while you're going to want to show a lot more than you tell, there are times wherein it's appropriate to tell, and the key is to learn how to balance the two. So that's what I got for today. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and comment, and I'll see you guys next week.